and welcome to part 5 of our Whispers of the Old Gods card review. Today we're going to be looking at a few more cards that they have released within the past probably about week and a half. And we're going to get right in here and we're going to start taking a look at the first card. First card is going to be the Vile Fin Inquisitor. The Wild Fin Inquisitor is a 1 mana 1/3, which we already have a Murloc already that is a 1 mana 1/3 with a similar card effect. And that's going to be our friend from the League of Explorers. And that is going to be Mr. Sir Finley Murgleton. Sir Finley Murgleton was also a 1 mana 1/3, and his battle cry is he discovered us a new basic hero power. The Wild Fin Inquisitor, which is specifically for paladins, his battle cry is your hero power becomes summon a 1/1 Murloc. As we all know, that paladin's hero power originally is summon a 1/1 Silverhand Recruit. Well, for a while there was a very popular deck that paladins had been running, and it was called a Murkadin. And the Murkadin is kind of like the Murloc deck used to be for warlocks. But when the Murloc Knight came out for TGT, a lot of paladins were running Murkadin decks, and they were using the Murloc Knight Inspire mechanic to fuel this Murkadin deck, because whenever you would use your hero power, it would spawn a random Murloc. Well, with this Vile Fin Inquisitor, I can see that Murkadin is probably going to become even more popular, because if your hero power now becomes summon a 1/1 Murloc, that means even though this card dies, your hero power stays as summon a 1/1 Murloc permanently. This also means that if you play the Murloc Knight, you're going to summon a random Murloc when you hero power, and when you hero power, you're going to get a 1/1 Murloc from your hero power. So you're basically going to be able to fill the field up pretty quick with some Murlocs. And let's take a look at some of the Murloc cards. I mean, it's like getting a Murloc Tiny Fin every time you hero power, pretty much, because a Murloc Tiny Fin is only 1 mana, or 0 mana and 1 attack and 1 health. But you can probably fill the board up really quick with Murlocs. You know, and you've got the Murloc War Leader, which gives all other Murlocs +2/+1. You've got the Cold Light Seer, which gives them +2 health. We've got the Murloc Tidecaller. Whenever a Murloc is summoned, this card gains 1 attack. The Grimscale Oracle, all Murlocs have +1 attack. So I see this Vile Fin Inquisitor is going to probably be yet another card that is going to be added to the Murkadin deck. I can see Murkadin is probably going to come back, and a lot of people are going to probably be running it more, because we've got yet another Murloc card that we can add to that plethora of Murlocs that we already have. The next card we're going to take a look at is going to be the Mire Keeper. It's going to be a druid card. It is 4 mana, 3/3, summon a 2/2 slime, or gain an empty mana crystal. Now, this card can be good in both a Ramp Druid deck, because Ramp Druids already run the Wild Growth to try and get that extra mana early. So this would be another card if they use the gain an empty mana crystal choice. That Ramp Druids usually use, and it work with the Innervates and some of the other Wild Growths that you'd probably have in your deck. This would be a good card to run. Also, if you choose the other option of the 2/2 slime, you have this on the field. You can use Mark of the Wild, which is a pretty cheap spell that Druids have already, and you can turn that 2/2 slime into a 4/4 slime with taunt. So it'd be a really good card to get yourself a 3/3 minion, and then you get another minion. You get a 2/2 slime that you can use to clear another minion. Also, with this card, getting the 2/2 slime, you can use other cards that Paladin or Druids have to use that 2/2 slime to your advantage. The next card that we're going to look at is going to be a Hunter's card. This one's actually quite interesting. It is an 8 mana cost Hunter card. It's called Call of the Wild. Summon all 3 animal companions. So that means you play this card for 8 mana. You get a Huffer, you get a Leokk, and you get a Mishka. And if you have Leokk and Huffer and Mishka on the field, Mishka is a 4/4 taunt. Huffer is a 4/2 charge minion, and Leokk gives one attack and 1 health to all minions on the field. So if you think about it, your Huffer is now going to be a 5/3, Mishka is now going to be a 5/5, and you're going to have Leokk. So you're going to have all 3 of those cards on the field at the same time. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are wondering, well, what if I have, say, 6 cards on the field and I play Call of the Wild? Will I get a random choice of what is going to be summoned? And to answer that question it's going to be alphabetic, which means if you have 6 minions on the field, it's going to go ahead and it's going to summon Huffer, because the order that they would be summoned is Huffer, Leokk, and Mishka. So Huffer would be summoned first, so you would guarantee to get Huffer if you had only 1 slot available on the battlefield. But this card seems quite interesting as far as the card text of being able to get all 3 animal companions all at once. But the 8 mana seems reasonable, because I think when you get Mishka, I think Mishka is 4 mana. Huffer, I think, is 4 mana. And I think Leokk is either 2 or 3 mana when you summon it from an animal companion. So I think basically they kind of added all the costs together and then just made it into 1 card. So this would be an interesting card for I think this would be a really good finisher card for face hunters, because if people, instead of clearing the field with their Unleash the Hounds, what they could do is they could use the Unleash the Hounds, clear a few of them, and have some of them hang around until the following turn. Then play this card, and you get the 1/1 from Leok, and you have Huffer, and you have the Taunt. So you'd be able to do a massive amount of damage just by playing this one card. The next card we're going to take a look at is going to be a warrior card. It's going to be called Ravaging Ghoul. It is a 3-mana 3/3 with a battle cry of deal 1 damage to all other minions. And what that means is when you play the card, it's immediately going to do 1 damage to all other minions. It's not going to do any damage to this card. But there's another card that I mentioned in my first video for the Whispers cards, and that was the Tentacle of Enzoth. And the Tentacle of Enzoth was a 1-mana 1/1, and its death rattle was that it dealt 1 point of damage to all other minions. And this one, its battle cry is that it deals 1 damage to all other minions. This one is kind of like, it's kind of like our friend, it's like our friend the Unstable Ghoul. Because what our Unstable Ghoul did is it was 2 mana, and it was a 1/3, and it had taunt, and its death rattle was that it dealt 1 damage to all other minions. Whereas our Ravaging Ghoul is a 3-mana 3/3 that deals 1 damage to all other minions. So, like I said, the Tentacle of Enzoth was a 1-mana 1/1. When it dies, it deals 1 damage to all of the minions. Our Unstable Ghoul does the same thing. I think this one, with it being a battle cry, I think it could basically help clear off, if you're playing against, like, say, a Zoolock deck, or you're playing against a Secret Paladin. They use, the Muster for Battle. They use the Stand Against Darkness card that was released, which summons 5 1/1 Silverhand recruits, and the Implosion that Zoolocks use to fill their battlefield with 1/1 imps. They're coming out with a lot of cards to deal with those decks. So I don't know if Zoolock decks are probably going to run that Implosion card, because we're getting so many other new cards that are probably going to replace it. But I've been noticing there's been quite a few cards that have a battle cry or a death rattle of dealing 1 damage to all other minions. So it's actually trying to even out this heavy filling of the battlefield that some classes are using. The next warrior card is quite interesting. This one actually makes me think of a mage card that's actually out currently. But what the card is called is it's called Blood Warriors. And basically what Blood Warriors is it adds a copy of each damaged friendly minion to your hand. And if we take a look at the mage card Echo of Medivh, which is a mage specific card, and Blood Warriors is a warrior specific card. Echo of Medivh puts a copy of each friendly minion into your hand. Blood Warriors says add a copy of each damaged friendly minion to your hand, which basically means you have 3 or 4 minions on the field, and Inner Rage 1, or in this case you could go ahead and Whirlwind and deal damage to everything on the field. And if you've only got a few cards in your hand, this card would be a way to fill your hand back up and try and keep the tempo going. So you play a Whirlwind, everything takes 1 point of damage. You play Blood Warriors, and it's going to add a copy of each one of those damaged friendly minions back to your hand. So this card is going to be crazy because Warriors use a lot of damaging buff spells. They use Frothing Berserker to try and do damage to their minions and buff that card. They also use the Whirlwind. They use the Inner Rage. There are still warriors that play Grim Patrons. So this is probably going to be it's probably going to be an overpowered card because this card text is just insane. It adds a copy of each damaged friendly minion to your hand. This is probably going to be a must-have in a lot of warrior decks in the near future. The next card we're going to be looking at is going to be a Warlock card. It's called Spreading Madness. And we actually already have a couple cards that kind of have this mechanic already. And this card is 3 mana, and it is called Spreading Madness. Deal 9 damage, randomly split amongst all characters for Warlocks. And so basically, this Spreading Madness card is kind of like having a Matter Bomber merging with a Mad Bomber. Because a Matter Bomber deals 6 damage randomly split amongst all other characters, and a Mad Bomber deals 3 damage randomly split between all characters. So basically, if Matter Bomber and Mad Bomber were to merge together, you would basically end up with Spreading Madness. So Matter Bomber deals 6 damage for 5 mana. And Mad Bomber deals 3 damage split amongst all characters for 2 mana. And let's see, if we look at the cost of this Spreading Madness card, Spreading Madness is only 3 mana, which is completely crazy because even if you combine Mad Bomber and Matter Bomber together, that is 7 mana that you would have to spend to do what this new spell is going to do for 3 mana. So you're dealing 9 damage randomly split amongst all characters for 3 mana. That's insane. I mean, that's like doing there's really nothing to compare to it except for, like I said, the Mad Bomber and the Matter Bomber. But this is going to be a super big RNGesus card because those 9 points of damage could go exactly where we want them to go. Say our opponent has 4 points of health left and's got a board full of creatures. It could hit our opponent for that exact 4 points of damage that we need, and we could win the game. The other thing with this deal 9 damage is even if it could be really good in handlock decks, because handlocks basically try and dwindle down their health to where they can summon their Molten Giants. So this card could be beneficial to handlocks in the means that any damage that gets applied to you will be beneficial because you'll be able to play your Molten Giants even sooner. The next card that we're going to take a look at is going to be a new Warlock Legendary. And a lot of people are really shocked that they finally went ahead and added this one, but we've been probably waiting for this card for quite some time. It's going to be Cho'Gall. Cho'Gall is a 7 mana 7/7, and his card text basically says, Battle Cry, the next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mana. So, this is another card that handlocks will probably be running, because it says the next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mana, which means you can get that Molten Giant out even sooner, because if you cast, I don't know, say you cast a Siphon Soul, for example. If you cast a Siphon Soul, Siphon Soul is 6 mana. You're going to destroy a minion, you're going to gain 3 health back, but you're going to take 6 damage from casting the card. This is probably going to be another handlock card, because the next spell that we're going to cast is going to do even more damage to us, and that's going to get us closer to trying to apply all that pressure with those 2 Molten Giants and being able to taunt them up. Cho'Gall is probably going to be a handlock legendary, as the other Warlock legendary that we have, Mal'Ganis. Mal'Ganis is mainly seen in Zoolock decks because it buffs the Demon Zoo deck, basically. It adds +2/+2 to all demons on the field. Cho'Gall is going to be in handlock decks because you're going to use your health instead of your mana to cast it could be an expensive spell, it could be a cheap spell, but instead of you spending mana on it, you would be spending health on it. So this is probably going to be one we're going to see in handlock decks. We'll just have to wait and see. The next card we're going to take a look at is going to be a Shaman. Yeah, it's going to be a Shaman weapon, I think. Let's see. Let's take a look at this. Shaman. No. This actually looks like... It looks like Warlocks are finally going to get a weapon. Because, as you can see, Shaman's is blue. Let's do it this way. Let's see. Rogues are gray. Hunters are green. Paladins are gold. Shamans are blue. Warriors are red. So this looks like it might be a warlock weapon. And warlocks don't have any weapons. If this is in fact a warlock weapon, this means that warlocks can run cards that other weapon classes could run in the past. A lot of weapon classes run the Bloodsail Raider, the South Sea Deckhand, the Dread Corsair, for example. But I'm not 100% sure, but by looking at the color of the border around the weapon, I have a feeling that it is probably going to be a warlock weapon. Let me look something up here real quick just to clarify that. Nope. It is in fact actually a shaman weapon. See, I thought it may have been a warlock weapon because of the purple border, but in fact, this is why I wanted to check. But it is actually a shaman card, and when it dies, you actually summon a 4/2 Twilight Elemental. But I don't foresee the Hammer of Twilight really being played that much, because it is a 5 mana cost card. It's 4 attack and 2 durability, and you get a 4/2 elemental out of it. But shamans already have a 5 mana cost weapon, which is the Doomhammer. And the Doomhammer has Wind Fury, which means we can do 4 points of damage already, and we can do it 4 times instead of only 2 times. Yes, it has the overload of 2, but it has the Wind Fury, so we can attack twice in 1 turn. So that means we would have 4 turns to go through all our durability. And the Hammer of Twilight, it has 4 attack, and it has 2 durability. and it costs 5 mana. You get a 4/2 elemental out of it, but I feel that the elemental would get killed too quickly. So I still think Doomhammer is probably going to be better over the Hammer of Twilight. So I don't see the Hammer of Twilight probably getting played very much. The next card we're going to take a look at is another Shaman card, and that is going to be the Master of Evolution. The Master of Evolution is a 4 mana 4/5, and its battle cry is it transforms a friendly minion into a random one that costs 1 more. Now this could come in really handy for shamans, because a lot of shamans have totems already. Shamans have a lot of totem cards already. And the ones that we summon from our hero power are 1 cost. So if we play this card on a regular, say, Stoneclaw totem, it's going to turn it into a 2-drop. If we play it on any of our totems, it's going to basically turn them into a minion that costs 1 more. So that means a 2-drop turns into a 3-drop, 3-drop into a 4-drop, 5-drop into a 6, and so on. But if you get up to the point where you're trying to make, say, a Sea Giant, or a Mountain Giant, or a Molten Giant stronger, this Master of Evolution is not going to work on those, because there are no 11 cost minions, there are no 13 cost minions, there are no 21 cost minions. So basically, if you play it on a Sea Giant, Mountain Giant, Molten Giant, any of those giant cards, it's going to whiff. It's not going to work, and you're going to waste it. This card's battle cry is kind of like... It's kind of like the Recombobulator. The Recombobulator really didn't see very much gameplay, but a lot of people used it in Arena for fun. Basically, the Recombobulator's battle cry says, transform a friendly minion into a random minion with the same cost. So if you had a damaged minion with 1 health, and it was, say, a 4 cost, the Recombobulator would basically turn that wounded minion into another random, say, 4-drop, for example, and it would now be back at full health. The Master of Evolution you're applying to a friendly minion that could also be very damaged, but you could turn it into something with full health, and it would be of the next mana cost tier. So this is going to be a interesting card for shamans, because they're going to use it on a lot of their totem cards to probably get a good 2-drop, good 3-drop, like I said, 4 on up. But we're just going to have to wait and see how that card's going to work out. The next card we're going to take a look at is going to be the Thing from Below. It is a 6 mana 5/5 with Taunt. It's going to cost 1 less for each totem you've summoned this game. So that means that all the cards that shamans have as far as totems totems. Let's just try totem. That's going to count. That's going to count any totem that our Tuskar Totemic is going to summon. That counts our Totem Golem, Flame Tongue, Vitality, Manatide. That's also going to count the totems that we have from our hero power. That's going to count those as well. So if we play a Totem Golem and we play a Flame Tongue with hero power, you know, by turn 4 or 5, this card is going to be actually really cheap. And it's also a 5/5, so it's a pretty good card for the 6 mana, because it gets taunt and it's a 5/5, and it gets cheaper as we play more totem cards or summon more totem cards. So this card could be super cheap, and it's going to be a 5/5 taunt. So it's probably going to be a really good card that's going to synergize with the totems that shamans already use. The next card is going to be a interesting one. This one I actually saw online a couple days ago, and I about fell over because the concept for it seems like if it is pulled off, this card is going to be insane. But what we're going to go with first is we're going to look at the Blood of the Ancient One. It is a 9 mana cost, 9/9. Now, if you read the text, it says, if it says here, if you control 2 of these at the end of your turn, merge them into the Ancient One. Now, the big thing that a lot of people are probably saying is this card's probably not going to survive long enough for you to be able to have 2 of them on the field and have them merge into the Ancient One. Because we've got silence cards out there, we've got Big Game Hunter out there still. There are several spells that could kill this card. Warlocks have Siphon Soul. Warriors have Execute. Secret Paladins have Equality and Consecrate. Hunters have Hunter's Mark. I mean, there's several classes that have removal that can get rid of this card. But if for some reason, if there is some reason that somebody is able to get 2 of these Bloods of the Ancient Ones out onto the field, and they are able to survive, they are going to merge into this card. This card, a lot of you are probably looking at and going, you're not for real, are you? I am. I am dead serious. If you are able to have 2 of those Ancient Blood cards on your field and they survive till the end of your turn, they are going to merge into a card called the Ancient One. The Ancient One is a 9 mana 30/30. Again, that is a 9 mana cost 30, 30. So that means if you are able to have 2 Bloods of the Ancient One on your side of the field, and they are not silenced or big game hunted or killed with any sort of removal spell, your opponent's probably going to concede, because there is no way that they can probably deal with this card unless they decide to run another removal spell of the same, i.e. the removal spells that I just went over: Siphon Soul, Execute, Equality Consecrate, Big Game Hunter. There are several cards that can get rid of this card if it is able to be summoned. I think Blizzard just kind of went crazy with this combo, but I can't wait to see if we're actually going to see some interesting combos off of this. Alright, so the last card we are going to take a look at is going to be the last of the Old Gods. We took a look at Cthulhu. Cthulhu had the battle cry of doing its attack randomly split amongst all enemies on our opponent's side. We had N'Zoth that basically brought back our Death Rattle minions that we had played the current game that you would be playing. And we had Y'Shaarj, which at the end of your turn put a minion from your deck into the battlefield. And we're going to take a look at the last of the Old Gods, and that is going to be Yogg-Saron, Hope's End. It is a 10 mana 7/5. His battle cry is choose a random spell for each spell you've casted this game. Targets chose randomly. So, say you're playing a mage deck and you have Yogg-Saron in your deck, and you played a lot of spells that game. You played him to put pressure on the field, and you played, say, a Fireball was one of the random spells that it decided to cast, because it chooses a random spell for each spell that you have casted. So that Fireball could hit your opponent, it could hit your opponent's minions, it could hit your minions, it could hit you in the face with your own Fireball spell. Yogg-Saron, they are definitely playing off of the insanity of the card itself, because basically he basically made you go crazy. So the idea of using your spells and making the targets completely random is quite interesting for this card. That doesn't only mean spell cards, that also means buff cards. So paladins, priests, you play those Blessing of Mights, and you play Blessing of Kings, any of those buff cards, priests using Velen's Chosen, Power Word Shield, any of those buff cards, if they're played the game that you're currently playing, you play Yogg-Saron, those buffs can be applied to any minion. That means your minions, your opponent's minions. This card is just absolutely crazy, just like Yogg-Saron makes people just completely insane. We're just going to have to wait and see how this card plays out as far as the spells, them just being completely random and added to both sides of the field. It's probably going to be a really fun card, a big game changer if the spells are applied to the right targets. But that is a look at the next round of Whispers of the Old Gods, the cards that we've seen so far, and I will see you guys when we make part 6, and we'll see you guys next time.